0730 hours. Radio check with base camp. Off our port and starboard wings are 0800 hours. Slight turbulence noted from easterly direction at altitude of 2,321 feet. They're closing rapidly alongside. 0910 hours. Both magnetic and gyro compasses beginning to gyrate and wobble. We are unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. They are disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. 010 hours. We are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. Something is definitely wrong here.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Common Anomaly Podcast. Tonight, we venture to the frozen edge of the world, Antarctica. What lies buried beneath its endless ice? Forgotten enemies, or something far more ancient and mysterious? Together, we'll descend into the dark crevasses of those forgotten lands to uncover secrets humanity was never meant to find. Are you ready to join the expedition? I'm your host, Clayton James. Joining me today is, of course, Stuart James.
How's it going, brother?
It's going good.
Good job. Good job with that.
We decided to do something different and have me read the intro.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. I could not seem to get my tongue untied enough to get the intro right. So yeah, thanks for stepping in.
Yeah, I hope that was okay. I'm doing all right, but honestly, I've been a little under the weather because I think I caught whatever sickness you were spreading around the other week.
That.
So I hope I don't sound too scratchy.
Yeah, just do your best not to make gross sounds into the microphone, and
like that.
We'll do great. Yeah, just like that. So today, I'm really excited for this episode. This is a great one. We're talking about Operation High Jump. So if you don't know this story, buckle up. It's a classic. You're going to love it. It's got everything. What do we got? We got the Third Reich conspiracies. We've got inner Earth theory. We've got ancient alien races, UFOs. We've got the whole gambit.
Secret Cold War battles going on.
That's right.
And we've got this character right at the center of it. You know, Steven Spielberg or George Lucas never admitted it, but I'm pretty sure he inspired Indiana Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of which, so before we get started, I do want to take a moment to just acknowledge some sad news this week. This community, the Fortiana Fringe community, is very much mourning this week. Earlier this week, Dr. John Ward passed away after a years-long struggle with cancer. And John Ward, he was an archaeologist and Egyptologist working on the Gebel El Silsila project, which is a quarry. It's a rock quarry in Egypt where a lot of the rock was quarried for sites like Luxor, sites Edfu, Karnak. And yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting him several times at the Paradigm Symposiums, which was like a fringe topic conference, like a typical UFO conference hosted by Intrepid Magazine back in 2012, 2013, and 2014. They only ran it for 3 years and they stopped doing it. But great memories, definitely very influential in my life in terms of becoming a content creator in this field and being interested in this subject matter. I went to all 3 events, had a great time. That's kind of how I did my vacationing back then. And it's very much what inspired me to start the Common Anomaly WordPress blog that I started way back in 2014, and which is, of course, what led us to doing this show here. Mm-hmm. And great memories of John. Like, he was very open, had a wicked sense of humor, and yeah, he was like a real-life Indiana Jones. I'll link to his society, the Friends of Scylla.org, into the show notes if you want to go and donate to that project. It was run by him and his wife, Dr. Maria Nielsen, and it's still an ongoing project, and I know I was very close to him, and goodbye, John. I was going to propose we have a little toast, a little glass of whiskey here at the beginning, but since you're sick, I don't think we can do that.
I'll pass on that. I've got my hydrogen water here.
Excellent, great.
Promotes robust health and mental clarity.
Good. You're going to need that for this one. So, all right. With all that aside, why don't we dive in? So, Operation High Jump. What is it? What are we talking about?
Well, do you want to start with the official story?
Well, yeah. Why don't we start with the official story? What if you looked on Wikipedia, what would it say about Operation High Jump?
So, Operation High Jump, it was a U.S. naval expedition to Antarctica, the largest naval expedition to Antarctica, either before or since. And it was commanded by this character who we'll get into in a little bit, named Admiral Byrd.
Yeah.
Byrd with a Y. Yeah, they went to Antarctica with this whole aircraft carrier group, basically.
It was something like 4,500 soldiers.
47,000 personnel.
Wow. No, 47,000. That can't be right.
Maybe it was 4,700. You're probably right. 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, dozens of aircraft. It was a proper aircraft carrier group.
Yeah, that's right.
It was huge.
Yeah.
What were they doing? So their stated goals were to train in polar conditions, test their equipment in polar conditions, and conduct scientific research.
Yeah, and establish like a little research base in Antarctica.
Yeah, it was called Little America.
Yeah.
And it was part of a series of U.S. naval bases in Antarctica. And they also were mapping the coast of Antarctica.
Yeah.
That was one of their stated goals. This expedition was supposed to last 8 months, starting in August of 1946. They actually ended it 2 months early due to poor weather, which is, I don't know what they were expecting to find in Antarctica other than poor weather.
They did have all kinds of specialized equipment and icebreakers, and a lot of the planes were modified for cold weather. But yeah, the expedition was ended early, which in itself was a little odd because Admiral Byrd was very experienced. This wasn't his first Antarctic voyage, and he'd been to the North Pole as well, so he was a very capable officer in terms of an explorer. Yeah,
so right on its face, this has an air of mystery about it because it got cut short by 2 months, and it looked mysterious just right from the get-go because it's a little odd. I found it a little odd immediately. Why do you send like this entire aircraft carrier group?
Yeah, that's the first strange point about
to conduct scientific research.
It was very much, it feels like a show of force. Like this would be a very well manned battle group if it was going anywhere else in the world for any other purpose. It would look like a big show of force.
Yeah.
So it is a little strange for the nature of the mission that's all they were up to is some mapping and
testing equipment.
Yeah. And doing some training. Right?
So, a few different stories emerge as to what really happened. And the other thing that makes this kind of feel mysterious is there's so much silence surrounding it from the U.S. military, from the government.
For such a seemingly benign mission, it was classified for several decades.
Yeah.
So it's like, why did that need to be so classified if they were just doing some cold weather training and a bit of cartography, right?
Yeah. So I think before we get into the what really happened, I think we should talk a little. Yeah, I think we should talk a little bit about this man, Richard Evelyn Byrd.
Yes.
Yes.
Fascinating character.
Yes. U.S. Navy officer, Rear Admiral, accomplished aviator, and gentleman explorer.
Yeah. And also a 33rd degree Freemason.
I didn't even know that part.
No, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, that's right. He actually on prior missions to Antarctic, to the South Pole and to the North Pole, he brought a Masonic flag and planted them at each pole.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Which some people view as a very symbolic in terms of that. Here we have another secret society, fraternal order, kind of planting their flag at both poles, and a kind of as above, so below symbolic gesture of their influence over the earth. Or we could be reading too much into it. It's up to you, right? But anyway, he was a 33rd degree master Freemason.
Yeah. Also very much a national hero in his time. He served as a naval aviator in World War I. And he kind of oversaw transatlantic flight logistics. He was a pioneer of long-distance aerial navigation techniques. He received the Medal of Honor in the kind of interwar years between World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
He was the first man to ever fly over the North Pole. A few years later, he became the first man to ever fly over the South Pole.
Yeah.
He actually commanded America's first expedition to Antarctica.
Yeah.
That's where they established this base, Little America 1.
Yeah.
I think High Jump was the base they established was Little America 4.
Right.
So this was a whole series of temporary bases that they were establishing in Antarctica. They were all built on something called the Ross Ice Shelf.
Yes.
Which is just a floating mass of ice. So none of these bases were meant to be permanent.
Along the, I guess, from our perspective, would be the south coast of Antarctica, if there is a...
It gets a little confusing towards the poles, which, if you're at the South Pole, which direction is north? Well, every direction.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry, continue.
Anyway, during World War II, he served as the special advisor on polar conditions for the Navy, basically planning convoy routes, which, obviously would have skirted Arctic waters. He was the personal advisor to the Secretary of the Navy. He was involved in long-range navigation and base planning during the war.
Did you also know that actually post the First World War in 1938, I believe, he was approached by the German National Socialist Party, and they wanted to hire him and send him to Antarctica to establish a base.
Oh, well.
Which he considered, but ultimately ended up refusing to do.
And they went ahead and did that anyway. We'll talk about that later. The new Schwabenland base.
That's right. Yeah, they wanted to hire him to do it.
Oh, I didn't know that part. I'm learning so much today. Anyway, post World War II, he was the commander of Operation High Jump, which is what we're going to talk about here today. So
official line isn't all that interesting. They went to go test some cold weather, went do some training, do some mapping. Weather got bad, and they got turned around 2 months in.
Yeah.
That's the official line. But then what happens? A couple decades later, some files are declassified, and emerges a secret diary, supposedly belonging to Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, the secret diary, I wasn't expecting to talk about that this soon, but we can.
Did you have some other stuff you wanted to cover before we get to the diary?
Well, the diary wasn't really the first thing to emerge. Basically, a lot of people wondered why this expedition ended so early. And there's a lot of kind of anecdotal claims, like sailor talk in bars.
Right.
Of why this expedition ended so early. And there are a lot of rumors emerging that this naval aircraft carrier group actually saw combat during this expedition.
And that's why they were really turned away.
Yeah. And actually the Soviet Union was following this expedition with great interest.
Yeah.
Because it's your biggest adversary at the moment.
Yeah.
Or emerging adversary is moving this huge naval fleet for scientific research. It looks suspicious. So they were watching with great interest.
Well, and this is all happening in 1946, 1947, early 1947, right after the end of the Second World War. Mm-hmm. And the Allies did know that Germany had assets in the Antarctic.
Yeah.
They were very much trying to establish a foothold. So even before we get into the really crazy stuff, and why the mission might have been classified and so heavily armed, I guess, so well prepared with such a big battle group, maybe they were really rooting out the last remnants of the Third Reich.
Yeah, and the Soviet Union, their internal memos seem to indicate, and this was parroted by their state-run media, that the U.S. expedition encountered unexpected resistance, was the phrase they used, in Antarctica. And the story that the Soviet Union eventually landed on was that the purpose of this expedition was to go confront some Nazi remnant that was stationed in Antarctica.
Yeah.
The final battalion, they called it.
Yeah.
Where the Nazi leadership and what was left of their military spirited away all these wonder weapons or Wunderwaffe that Hitler was trying to develop.
The Third Reich, they knew they were losing the war.
Yeah.
So they had ample opportunity to look for an exit. And there is a lot of references and kind of offhand comments from high up leaders within the Third Reich mentioning that they had basically these hidden strongholds far away from Germany.
Yeah.
Where they would basically, yeah, you're right, hide their highest assets, whether they be people or equipment, should the war be lost.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And we all know about Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
Where Nazi scientists were scooped up, some by the Russians, some by the Americans, basically trying to grab the best brain talent that Germany had.
Yeah.
For their advanced weapons knowledge and stuff.
Yeah. So in that deal, the U.S. got most of the personnel. They got most of the scientists. What the Soviet Union got were prototypes. They got the actual V-2 rockets that they could reverse engineer.
Yeah.
But the Americans, they got most of the minds behind it.
Yeah. And most of them landed at NASA.
But we also know about these, what they called rat lines of escaping high-ranking Nazi officials.
Yep.
And we do know that a lot of them made it as far as Argentina.
Yeah.
I think, who was it? Mengele.
Yeah, there's a whole
Joseph Mengele.
enclave
He was found in Argentina.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. So, yeah, where was I? So the narrative that the Soviet Union landed on was that the U.S. military went to confront this kind of hidden stronghold of Nazi holdouts in Antarctica. And they were actually pushed back because this stronghold in Antarctica was where the Nazis hid all their super weapons.
Yeah.
And they were supposedly pushed back by disc-shaped craft that attacked with beams of heat and light that the U.S. Navy had no defense against.
Yeah.
Now, what happens after that?
This
is where this story kind of diverges.
Wasn't Admiral Byrd quoted?
Yeah.
When he was debriefed at the Pentagon as saying and warning the United States would need to prepare to fight aircraft that could traverse the Earth from pole to pole at fantastic rates of speed. This
actually wasn't during a Pentagon debriefing. This was a newspaper interview Admiral Byrd did, and this gets a little muddy because this newspaper was it was a Chilean newspaper, so it was in Spanish.
Okay.
It was called El Mercurio, and I've actually got the quote right here, translated into English. Admiral Richard E. Byrd warned today that the United States must adopt protective measures against the possibility of an invasion by hostile aircraft coming from the polar regions. The Admiral said, "I do not attempt to frighten anyone, but the bitter reality is that, in the event of a new war, the United States could be attacked by aircraft flying over one or both poles. I cannot help but strongly warn my compatriots that the time has passed when we could rely on complete isolation and take comfort in the belief that distances, the oceans, or even the poles themselves could guarantee our security." Now, so this kind of gets woven into this kind of flying disc narrative, because this was in Spanish. These objects that Admiral Byrd was describing in the Spanish language paper, I'm going to do my best to pronounce this correctly. Aviones hostiles is the phrase used in the newspaper, which directly translates into hostile aircraft.
Right.
That's what he was warning against. But in English language translations at the time, this was often translated into UFO or flying disc.
Right.
He was warning against UFOs or flying discs coming from the North Pole or the South Pole. That's not what he said. He said hostile aircraft.
Okay.
Now you could think, there's
But what would these hostile aircraft be? Where would they be coming from? What is he talking about? Right?
Well, obviously,
what foreign nation would be coming from Antarctica with an invasion fleet of hostile aircraft? Right?
The final battalion. It's the final battalion.
Yeah.
So this is what happens after this is where stories kind of diverge. A lot of people believe that once the U.S. force was pushed back from Antarctica by these very technologically advanced craft they had no defense against, they fell back on their nuclear arsenal.
Right.
And they launched nukes at Antarctica.
Right.
And neutralized the threat that way. And that is how World War II really ended.
Right. I remember that there were nuclear tests in Antarctica in the atmosphere, right? Mm-hmm. But they were tests. Officially, they were test destinations. or detonations, pardon me. I just can't talk today. I don't know what the hell's going on. Test detonations in the atmosphere above Antarctica.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what we're speculating, or what others have speculated, is they weren't tests, this is cover.
Yeah.
For what was basically a secret war in Antarctica.
You know, this whole narrative about like the final battalion, I just have to say, it reminds me so much of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
Because like what happens at the end of like Star Wars: Return of the Jedi, you know, the Empire's defeated, the Emperor gets killed.
Right.
And then
right.
in Rise of Skywalker, you know, the Emperor has secretly been alive all these years in this secret installation, and he's got this secret fleet he's assembled called the Final Order, and they're each equipped with these crazy super weapons, and it's like the secret epilogue to the war.
Yeah.
I wonder.
It's actually a really good plot line. Too bad it was so horribly executed.
Yeah. It was such a terrible movie.
Not unlike this show.
Hey, we're doing all right.
We're doing all right, yeah. We're holding it together.
I'm sick. You can't talk, but we're doing all right. Anyway. That is one version of what happened during Operation High Jump.
Yeah.
One of many different versions, because the whole thing is so secretive. You know, immediately after Admiral Byrd gave this interview to this Chilean newspaper, he is silenced. He's not allowed to say anything else about Operation High Jump.
Well, the whole thing was classified.
The whole thing gets classified. And so it's very fertile ground for speculation.
Yeah.
And then, years later, this book emerges, The Secret Diary of Admiral Byrd.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great. This diary emerges, supposedly belonging to Admiral Byrd, recounting the events of what really happened during Operation High Jump. What Byrd claims is, in February of 1947, Byrd took to the skies and was flying over Antarctica. So February 1947, Byrd is in his plane flying over Antarctica on a scouting mission, and he says that below him, the fields of ice kind of gave way to this massive green valley of vegetation. So all of a sudden the climate in this area was completely different. And he saw herds of animals roaming around, mammoth-like creatures, but even stranger. And then like a shining city. There's actually like a full city. And at some point he realized he was actually, as he was exploring this area, this valley kind of turned into a massive cavern. He realized he was flying into like a massive entrance into the inner earth.
Yeah.
And then a voice came over his radio in the plane, which he thought it was going to be his carrier group.
Yeah.
Trying to locate him, but it was this voice in kind of a Nordic Germanic accent welcoming him to our domain.
Yeah.
And so something takes control of his aircraft. He loses control, so like something has taken over flying his craft, and brings him to a landing. He's being escorted again by these flying discs, and brandishing swastikas on the side, and he's brought to a landing strip in the city, and he's greeted by these strange, tall, Nordic looking aliens that I guess have been residing in this inner earth world for thousands of years.
So in this version of events outlined in the secret diary, these entities were not Nazis. They were basically you know, when you were talking about the Theosophy Society, how the Theosophy Society believes in all these ancient races of man that have existed throughout history.
Well, that was Madame Blavatsky's
the Hyperboreans and such.
Yeah.
Now, supposedly this race of like Nordic-looking humanoids is one of those ancient races of men.
Yeah.
Now, they're not Nazis.
They're the Atlanteans.
Yeah, they're basically Atlanteans.
Yeah.
Now, the actual Nazi party and the various secret societies that were tied to the Nazi party, you know, the Thule Society, the Vril Society, you know, Nazi occultism, they were very much into a version of theosophy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
They
had their own version of it. They called Ariosophy.
Yeah.
And it was basically they took theosophy and they corrupted it into this really racist thing where only they were the descendants of the true master race, and like we know all that.
Yeah.
And what Admiral Byrd is saying he encountered in his diary is one of these ancient races.
Yeah.
And the reason they have swastikas on their craft is the swastika, like everyone knows, that was a symbol that was co-opted by the Nazis. They didn't invent it. That's a very ancient symbol. The Nazis just co-opted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, Admiral Byrd, he's taken into the city, and in his diary, it talks about how he's taken before this man they refer to as the Master.
Yeah.
And the Master says he has brought Admiral Byrd here to give him a warning for humanity, that, you know, if humanity continues on its current trajectory, that, you know, all sorts of terrible disasters are going to befall them because of nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And they have tried to intervene. They have tried to warn humanity themselves, but their craft are treated with fear and suspicion and even fired upon. Yeah. And that's why they've brought Admiral Byrd here. So they give him this warning for humanity, and they send him on his way, and they say, Auf Wiedersehen.
Yeah.
It's even quoted in the diary. They say, Auf Wiedersehen, Admiral Byrd.
All of a sudden, I'm picturing them wearing like lederhosen and big beer steins.
Yeah.
No, it's a great story. It's a lot of fun, and I mean, I've heard it looked at different ways. I mean, some say that these inner Earth people, whoever they were working with the Third Reich, and maybe. Because the Nazis had a presence in Antarctica first, that they found them, made contact, and basically kind of created an alliance with them.
Yeah, because the Nazis
help develop these super weapons.
The Nazis actually did have a base in Antarctica.
Yeah.
It was called New Schwabenland. Now, that also has a lot of stories around it, because officially, this expedition was sent to Antarctica by Hitler during kind of the lead up to World War II. Because in the lead up to World War II, Germany had alienated so many of its trading partners, and they relied very heavily on whale oil to make various products. So this expedition was sent officially to set up a whaling operation in Antarctica. Right. And they established this base, New Schwabenland. The whole whaling part was abandoned. Apparently this expedition returned to Germany as failures because it was just not a suitable site for whaling, apparently. But they still established this base here. Now, what's interesting and why there's so many theories about this is shortly after this, during World War II, there's documents that emerged kind of post-war that point to various secret weapons projects by the Nazis. Wunderwaffe, wonder weapons, Hitler was trying to develop.
Yeah.
One of them was called Die Glocke, or the bell.
Yeah, the Nazi bell. Yeah, I love that story.
And you hear descriptions of it, and what is Die Glocke? It is basically, it sounds like a description of a flying saucer. It's like this...
Sort of. It's like a kind of acorn-shaped device.
But it's basically like an anti-gravity propulsion system.
Yeah.
Rumored to be based on captured extraterrestrial or possibly Atlantean technology.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be a time machine.
Apparently, it has all sorts of different effects.
Hitler use it to escape, and he time traveled 25 years into the future? Isn't that what happened with Die Glocke? True facts.
I haven't heard that story.
No. Oh,
I think. But what's interesting is in all these like Soviet state media reports about Operation High Jump, they actually talk about the American fleet being attacked by Die Glocke, flying Nazi saucers, basically.
Right.
Pushed back the American fleet. This was in the Soviet newspapers of the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, do you have the source for me? Can I put it in the show notes?
I mean, I could try to find it.
No, if you could find it.
Yeah. It would be in Russian, though.
Yeah. Okay. Google Translate. People can figure it out.
Anyway, so when you were talking about were the Nazis actually working with these Atlanteans or whoever's living in Antarctica?
Yeah.
You know, it's like where did the Nazis get the technology for, you know, this anti-gravity device?
Absolutely, right? Well, and I mean, there's a lot of crazy stories about the Third Reich, but it's true that they absolutely did have basically an occult division within the Third Reich, whose entire purpose was to try and get any edge, whether natural or supernatural, that the Third Reich could use to their advantage. And like you said, these kind of magical, fraternal concepts, occult ideas were very much baked into the Third Reich, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they had an entire division that was devoted to trying to find whatever advantage they could to win the war. And,
I mean,
if
Hitler,
they had to make a deal with the devil, they would do it.
Hitler sent expeditions all throughout the world to try and find the Spear of Destiny.
Yeah.
You know, the supposed, like, spear that the Roman soldier pierced the side of Christ with.
That's where we get the plot of Indiana Jones. It's because that's what they were doing. So if anybody was going to find inner Earth Atlanteans below the ice of Antarctica, it probably would have been the Third Reich.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Why did the Nazis always beat us to the aliens? It's like the movie Contact.
Totally. They're on the moon too, right?
Yeah. We're not exactly putting our best foot forward.
No, totally. Well, and what was it? Wasn't it Hitler opening the Olympics was the first ever global broadcast via satellite that was beamed into space?
It was supposedly the first, like, visual transmission.
Yeah.
Like television signal
that was strong enough
to like reach interstellar space.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had radio transmissions that were powerful enough, but this was the first, like, visual signal that could travel that far. Yeah. That was robust enough to stay coherent that long.
Yeah. So
anyway, I just found this whole, this whole Diary of Admiral Byrd thing. I find that aspect of the story a little bit problematic myself, because there's like, I have a PDF of this diary. I found one.
Yeah.
It wasn't the easiest thing in the world to find. I had to join this, like, internet historical archive, but I found what I'm led to believe
the base document
is the original document, because there's so many different versions of it.
Can you forward that to me? Because I've already plugged into the show notes just a version of the diary, but it's just from some internet UFO page or whatever.
Yeah, so the version I have, you actually have to sign up for this like historic archive.
Send it to me. I did tell you what I also put in the show notes, though, is the actual, from the FOIA request, all the release archives from Operation High Jump. So if you want to look at the official line and all the documents and photos, I've linked to that archive in the show notes as well. But
in this document I have, which I'm led to believe is the original unaltered document, this diary is not describing events that took place during High Jump. They're describing events that happened like a full year earlier during an expedition to the North Pole.
Oh.
And the North Pole is where, Admiral Byrd entered this cavernous inner Earth and met with these Nordic Atlantean folks.
Right.
And Operation High Jump is completely aside from that. But it gets folded into the Operation High Jump narrative because they both involve Admiral Byrd and they both involve UFOs with swastikas on them.
Right.
So the two stories get conflated so much.
So we have what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm looking for? Incongruity.
But again, that is, like I said, I have what I'm led to believe is the original document.
Right, which who knows?
And there's different versions of it, and it's kind of morphed over the years. Actually, it's widely believed to be a fraudulent document.
Yeah.
Because
and here's where the grain of salt comes in. Right? Is there's no way to authenticate this diary.
Yeah. So this diary, it was published by a fellow named Raymond W. Bernard. He claims this diary was provided to him by Richard Byrd Jr.,
right,
Admiral Byrd's son. He said after Admiral Byrd passed away. His son found this secret diary and he passed it on to Raymond Bernard. Who's Raymond Bernard? He's kind of a fringe author and he's a huge proponent of the hollow earth theory. And actually this diary was published alongside a book called The Hollow Earth.
Yeah.
And if you look at the diary, people say because Admiral Byrd, he has lots of his own, he has lots of published work out there.
Yeah.
Describing his
Yeah,
various...
he was an author. He wrote several books.
Describing his various adventures, aside from being a military man, he was a gentleman explorer. He's like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And he has all kinds of books about his adventures. And the writing style of this secret diary, it does not match Admiral Byrd's writing style at all.
Yeah, a lot of the criticisms of the diary is that it's a story that seems to fall right in line with a lot of the popular kind of pulp sci-fi of the era.
Yeah.
Right? And uses a lot of language and terminology that you would find kind of that new agey reference, crystals, Atlantis, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't align with a lot of his writing style in his own authorships or in the reports he would file for the military.
Yeah. He was in his own writing, he was very straightforward and earnest. He's a military guy.
Yeah.
This diary, it's full of very colorful descriptions and exclamation points everywhere.
Yeah.
Exclamation marks. Enough with the exclamation marks. They're all over the place in that. And it's thought that this other fellow, Raymond Bernard, he kind of forged this basically to help promote his own book on hollow earth theory.
Right. Well, so that must have been what happened. There, we've cracked it.
Well,
Wait,
I'm not.
Wait, who could possibly verify this? Because he says he got the diary from...
So the only person that could possibly verify this is Richard Byrd Jr.
Right.
Would you like to talk about what happened to Richard Byrd Jr.?
Yeah, let's...
So Richard Byrd Jr. died under some very mysterious circumstances.
Oh.
He died in 1988. So he was living in Boston, and actually he was traveling to Washington, D.C. to attend a ceremony honoring his father, Admiral Byrd.
Right.
So his son drove him to a train station. He got on the train. He never made it to Washington. His wife was supposed to meet him in Washington. He never made it. And he's a missing person. And he was found dead 3 weeks later in an abandoned warehouse in Baltimore.
Huh.
And it looked like he'd been through something. He was kind of beat up. He was dirtied up. He only had one shoe on. Official cause of death, starvation and dehydration.
Starvation. In an abandoned warehouse.
Yeah.
In Baltimore.
Yeah. And...
Interesting.
And he was not like Richard Byrd Jr. He was not like some down on his luck guy who hung out in abandoned warehouses. He was a very well-to-do guy. So it was very mysterious.
And you said he was on his way to a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
To honor the memory of his father.
Yeah. So what people think is that he was going to say something. He was going to say something that he maybe necessarily shouldn't have said, and he was silenced.
Okay. So the plot thickens. Intrigue.
So there is no possible way now to verify the authenticity of this secret diary of Admiral Byrd.
Wow. Interesting. I mean, it does read, like the story reads like a pulp magazine story of 1950s era sci-fi.
And again, I think this diary, it is of dubious origin, and who knows which version of it is the original version.
Yeah.
I found it interesting because it really reminded me of this other story out of Mexico in the 70s. Have you heard of Rafael Perez?
No.
So
or at least I don't think so.
So Rafael Perez, he was basically a pilot in training.
Okay.
And he takes off from Mexico City, and this is his first solo flight. And so he's flying, everything's going well. But then he reports that he feels something take control of his aircraft. His controls aren't responding anymore.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he gets really drowsy, like he's been drugged or something. And he blacks out. And he wakes up. 3 hours have passed. He's completely lost 3 hours, and his plane is over water now. He's flying over water, and
that would be a little disconcerting.
He's still got a full tank of fuel, though, despite 3 hours having passed.
Oh.
And he's talking. There's a voice on his radio. It's an air traffic controller that's saying, "Are you there? Are you still there?" And he says, I don't know. I just woke up. I can't believe I didn't crash. I blacked out. I don't know where I am. So this air traffic controller is in Acapulco, and they guide him into Acapulco, and he lands. Immediately after landing, he is brisked away by men in black suits.
Yeah.
He's taken to a medical facility. He's checked over, made sure he's healthy. He's not psychotic. And they sit him down and they tell him, "Okay, we're going to tell you what happened. You were actually speaking to that air traffic controller the entire time. Do you remember what you said to him?" He's like, No, I just remember waking up and him asking if I was still there. And they describe him radioing this air traffic controller saying, "This is not the pilot. We have taken over your pilot. We are using your pilot as a microphone. It's not important who we are, only that we share the same universe with you. And we need to warn you about things to come. If humanity continues on its current trajectory, we will be forced to intervene. You have been flagged for extermination."
Oh, that's disturbing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what
and that
is it
just
they don't want us to
reminded
do?
me. That's
very vague. What trajectory are we on?
War, nuclear weapons. The same thing the Master was warning Admiral Byrd about.
Right, which is very, that's very familiar. That's very typical of the abductee kind of phenomenon of that era, of the 1950s and 60s. Was very, don't use nuclear weapons. You got to look after the world. Yeah.
But interesting parallel between this and Admiral Byrd.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's very similar, very similar. When did that happen again?
1978.
Okay, so it's after. Oh, I guess the story came out around the same time, right?
No, the Diary of Admiral Byrd was published in 1964.
64. Oh, okay. So this could be a bit of just UFO lore being tacked on.
Yeah, well, I mean, stories get folded into other stories.
Yeah.
I found it interesting, though. I found it interesting because
interesting.
this whole.
And I mean, you do hear that theme a lot from even if you go to events and stuff in like the Bermuda Triangle, you hear that story where the control of the aircraft has been taken over by some other force.
Yeah. But this whole scenario, I found it fascinating. This whole scenario, Operation High Jump, Mysteries of Antarctica, this was all predicted in a book that was published over 10 years before Operation High Jump.
Get out. We got another one of these? H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. Lovecraft. Remember how we were talking about the Necronomicon and I was musing on, was H.P. Lovecraft channeling something?
Right.
Is there something more to him just being a really creative writer of cosmic horror? Is he channeling something real?
Yeah.
Well, H.P. Lovecraft, one of his novels, At the Mountains of Madness. This novel follows a Professor William Dyer at Miskatonic University. He leads an expedition to the South Pole for scientific research. He discovers mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas, beyond which lies an ancient alien city. His team uncovers frozen bodies of what he calls elder things, creatures that colonized the earth before man, creating both wonders and horrors. Dissection of these creatures reveals that they are still alive, though in stasis. They also discover these creatures called Shoggoths, who are basically bioengineered slaves of the elder things that are still alive and roaming through the city. And they have to make this daring escape from this ancient alien Antarctic city. It's all very exciting, and they make it back to Miskatonic University, and they swear to never tell the rest of humanity of what actually lies in Antarctica.
Wow. That's exactly this story. That's crazy.
Not exactly this story, but pretty damn similar.
Pretty damn close, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so you could look at that two ways. You could look at that as, well, that's a very popular storyline that already had been lent on by creative people before any of this came about. So someone could just be copycatting the story because it's a great story.
But, I don't think the Soviet state-run media were big H.P. Lovecraft fans at the time.
Maybe not.
And you know what's funny?
You don't
Because
know.
H.P.
You don't know them.
Lovecraft did not even become well-known at that time period. He was not well-known. He was not widely read until probably the 80s.
Yeah.
Like H.P. Lovecraft, he died in absolute poverty. He never knew fame at any point in his life. So I doubt the Soviet authorities were getting their story from reading At the Mountains of Madness.
Right. Fair enough. Okay. I'm with you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. All right. Well, and a little piece of actual science that could kind of verify an aspect of this. It's only recently been determined that there is massive kind of voids within the Antarctic ice from geothermal heating that has melted kind of ice underneath and created these subsurface lakes and these massive caverns that kind of pockmark underneath Antarctica. So, and that's very much what that supposed secret diary of Admiral Byrd describes, is this massive cavern.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a giant underground city.
Yeah, giant underground city with its own biosphere in there. He even describes, I think, at one point, like an artificial sun of some kind, illuminating the entire cavern, right?
Yeah.
I love Hollow Earth stuff. It's great.
Yeah,
great
one of my
stories.
one of my favorite books ever is Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah.
And that predates this whole story by, like, that was written in, like, the 1800s.
Yeah. So
But
again,
I
what do you make of this? Is this just an iteration that kind of conveniently, an iteration of this very popular fictional storyline that just conveniently kind of fits with this conspiracy of this Operation High Jump?
Maybe, but you know what? I don't know what really happened during Operation High Jump.
Yeah.
But I think something happened because there's too much smoke there. Were you aware that, like, immediately after Operation High Jump, and right immediately after this whole thing is classified, the U.S. Secretary of Defense committed suicide? He threw himself off a 13-story building.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his name was Defense Secretary James Forrestal.
Oh, yeah. Forrestal. Right.
Yeah, and he was committed to the National Navy Medical Center, and supposedly due to a nervous breakdown or operational fatigue.
He tripped and fell out a window.
And
right? From the 50th floor.
he jumped from the 13th floor. They called it a suicide. But and you've got that, and you've got the very mysterious death of Richard Byrd Jr., who's the only one who could have verified this diary. And you just look at all the smoke around Antarctica in general. You've got huge swaths of it that are just blurred out on Google Earth.
Yeah. And it isn't like the pole itself, like the precise South Pole, like there's a big no-fly zone over it. Like
you can't. There's this Antarctica Treaty. You can't actually travel to Antarctica. It's this big international treaty, and it even during the Cold War, it was one of the few things that East and West could actually cooperate on. Is that Antarctica is neutral and travel there is very restricted, and even
to this day it is.
Even if you're a scientist and you're going there for specific scientific research, your movements within Antarctica are very restricted. Like, most of that continent is just a no-go zone.
Yeah.
For some reason. Why?
Yeah.
And you've got all these stories about.
Oh, and we never brought up the Perry-Rees map. I know you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, the Perry-Rees map. You hear people mention it when they talk about Antarctica. It was basically like a navigational map. It's dated to like the year 1513. And it was drawn by this Ottoman admiral named Perry-Rees.
Yeah.
And Antarctica, the Antarctic coast is shown on the map.
Yeah.
But
in high detail.
It is
very accurate.
It is Antarctica's subglacial coastline.
Yeah. Very
accurately depicted on this map from 1513. Now, we have only recently verified this because you cannot see Antarctica's subglacial coastline without doing seismic tests.
Yeah.
Yet we've done those seismic tests, and Antarctica's actual coastline, beneath the ice matches this map from 1513.
And the Perry-Rees map shows Antarctica free of ice, populated with animals and vegetation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is this map based on? Who knows?
Yeah.
It's thought that,
it's thought it's based on several different older ancient maps.
It's based on prehistorical documents.
So God knows how far back those sources go, but obviously there's something to it because it so accurately depicts the coast. And like the map predates the discovery of Antarctica in modern times as far as we're concerned, right?
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff.
So, like I said, I don't know what happened during Operation High Jump. I don't know what's going on in Antarctica. But there's enough smoke there that, there's more to this than the official story of High Jump was, a survey expedition and testing of equipment. You don't send an aircraft carrier group out to Antarctica to test your equipment.
Totally. Well, and I think the geopolitical state of the world directly after World War II, I don't think it's surprising because I believe treaties were in place at that time as well to prevent people from, I guess, planting a flag in claiming Antarctica.
1959, I believe.
Oh, 1959
is when those treaties were signed.
Okay, so the U.S. probably could have just been trying to position themselves and stake a claim for future expansion and resource development. I mean, it would be very strategically significant down the road to have control of Antarctica, both its resources and just its strategic position in the world, right?
Well, fortunately, we do have such an operation to compare it to, because several years later, after Operation High Jump, came Operation Deep Freeze, and that was the actual mission to establish a permanent base on a permanent base.
So
on
it's
Antarctica.
interesting, such a massive force. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of suspicious. A massive force, supposedly with the intent of establishing a military foothold on that continent, and they're driven away by something.
Yes, by something, but what?
Yeah.
And again, there's no official documents on flying discs attacking them, but there's a lot of talk about it.
Yeah.
And even official Soviet documents.
What is it? What is the saying? Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just
I don't know.
because you can't prove it doesn't mean
what do you think happened?
Can't disprove it.
What do you think happened during Admiral Byrd's expedition to Antarctica?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think probably the more likely scenario is that there was some degree of military force left over of the Third Reich that had a foothold in Antarctica, and that was maybe the real reason they went there. I don't know about the inner Earth Atlantean stuff. Just that diary is so questionable.
It's very dubious.
It's very dubious, yeah. And yeah, it's just very different from anything else Admiral Byrd wrote. If I had to place bets, if I had to place money, I'd probably call that diary a hoax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome piece of fiction. Like, amazingly fun story. I love it. But, I don't know if you can take it to the bank. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I very much see Operation High Jump as like the secret epilogue to World War II.
Yeah.
Whether it played out with flying saucers and nukes or something more conventional, I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah.
What's really going on in Antarctica? Who knows? I think Antarctica attracts these kinds of stories just because it's such a blank slate for myth making.
Yeah,
it's like this giant area the size of all of North America, and it's completely mostly unexplored, and you're not allowed to go there.
That was on my mind a lot through this week, digging up information on this. Is this just a phenomenon of, there be monsters here? It's the blank edges of the map.
Yeah.
Right? And as far as Earth goes, what do we have for places like that? You've got, the Congo, you've got, the oceans, and you've got Antarctica, right? Those are the kind of the last frontiers.
I mean, you've even got those...
And all of those places come with legends of monsters, creatures, aliens, different things. It's kind of just human nature to insert those things into those unknown, remote areas of the world. Is Is that all we're seeing here? Is like a really good legend?
I think that's part of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the whole thing.
Yeah, because you are right. There are a lot of curiosities about Antarctica.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Have you seen the pyramids?
I have seen the pyramids.
Have you seen the pyramids?
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of the pyramids.
You do a whole episode on the pyramids.
Yeah.
I didn't even get.
All of this was covered in Alien versus Predator. All right?
I didn't even get
truth,
in. I didn't even
that
get.
movie.
I didn't even get into the flat Earth people. how they believe that Antarctica is actually just a giant wall of ice,
right?
That surrounds like our portion of the flat Earth.
Yeah.
And the flat Earth people, they actually believe it was called Operation High Jump because they were trying to get over the ice wall. I am being serious. That's what these people believe. They believe that's why it's called Operation High Jump.
Oh, flat earthers.
Yeah. Careful, don't alienate the flat earthers. Some of them might be listeners.
People can think whatever they want to think. We're not here to judge.
I don't buy it. But you know what? If you are out there and you're listening and you are a believer in flat Earth theory, send us an email. Like, convince us. Seriously.
Yeah, I'm open. I'll hear the argument.
I would absolutely love to read
argument.
Something legitimately convincing about flat Earth theory.
Totally. Yeah.
That's why, like I said like a long time ago, I hope we never come to covering flat Earth theory because it's so. I find it ridiculous.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe someone out there will email us something compelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of maps, we're all over it. Hey, this has been a bit of a bumpy ride this episode. Hey, I feel like neither of us have been totally at our best. I feel like I got a real task ahead of me for editing this.
Well, I've had a wonderful time.
It's been a great conversation, yeah, and it always is. It's always a lot of fun. Feels like we're a little off today.
Yeah,
that's all right.
I'm a little under the weather. Again, I apologize if I sound scratchy today. But
yeah, I'm not sick or anything, but yeah, and I've been like clumsy all morning leading up to the show happening. Like I kept bumping into things and hitting my knee. Like I hit my knee on the table, and I tripped in the kitchen on the rug. So I don't know, something's off today. Just clumsy. I don't know. So apologies, folks, if you've stuck with us this long. Thanks so much. I hope you're having a better weekend than we are. But thanks for being here to listen to the show. It was a lot of fun. Check out the website. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. It really helps us out. We're still a growing outfit, and that's the best way to support us is if you just drop a like, write a comment on an episode, share it with a friend. That's the biggest thing for us is to spread the word to new ears. So thanks very much. I hope everyone's having a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Good night.